let's look at the war on waste and some tips that I've learned by being in the front lines of the war on waste over the last 25 years. Before we get into the tips, I'd like to just sort of give you an overview of what we've done. We've worked with 150 companies. We've generated 10,000 ideas and gotten them implemented. That's not ideas that were just suggested. These are implemented ideas. We generated $1 billion of first-year profits for those companies. And of those companies, 6 of them were large Fortune 100 companies. And of those, they accounted for $700 million of the $1 billion of profit. The rest of the $300 million was distributed across the other 150 or so companies. In 1996, we had an audit of 23 companies that participated in the war on waste, and we generated 3,800% ROI on those projects that were implemented in that study. The war on waste process consists of 6 steps, and we run every company or individual group of people through this process, and we give them 6 to 8 weeks to get their idea into play, but to get it done. The first step is identifying a waste. So what do we mean by a waste? Waste is anything in the business that keeps value from being added. In other words, value added is how you make money in your business. Waste is anything that keeps that from being delivered. In a business, we look at an organization, there are 3 functions. There's value added, waste, and another function we call essential support. Henry Ford referred to anything that didn't add value as waste, and we think that's disrespectful. And so essential support became the way we looked at this 3rd category of an organization. Once we've identified waste, we then look for the root cause and then proceed to calculate the size of the waste. How big is this waste in annual lost revenue or lost costs? In the war on waste, we're looking for $100,000 of waste that you can fix at a cost of less than $2,000. That's a big wow. So people say, well, my company's not that bad, and I just say, trust me, it's that bad. And after a couple of days, the owner of the business or the CEO of a large corporation says, yeah, I guess we are. We then go into an implementation plan and the metrics of how we're going to decide what will determine whether we're successful or not. The 3 books I've written were 1993. These are all available on Amazon. The New Turnaround was 1993. It describes the story of a worker who went through the war on waste. The Tribal Knowledge Paradox describes the sum total of all the knowledge of a corporation and how that plays in the management of a company. It's a variation of the story that we told in 1993. And in Tribal Knowledge Innovation, the encyclopedia is a summation of the terms, phrases, concepts that we include in our program. You can look me up on Amazon at Len Bertain or Leonard Bertain, and you can find the books. The 5 tips that we want to talk about are, first one is respect all ideas. I'm so passionate about this is the root of a successful WOW program. It depends on making sure that everybody in the company has an opportunity to put an idea into play and to listen to the people. And so when I was in college, I read East of Eden by John Steinbeck, and he says in there, the free exploring mind of the individual human is the most valuable thing in the world. And and I believe that. If anybody gets in the way of an employee's idea, is like, put a red flag up to me and I'm a bull charging, because you just don't do that. We respect ideas. When you get the idea, you want a champion to push it through. Ideally, it would be the CEO, but you just go down the chain of command until you find someone that will support your idea. The third thing is no blame is the root of making a successful project. We started the project a number of years ago and people would say, well, I'm worried about someone blaming me for coming, attacking their particular operation. We say, don't blame. All bets are off in the war on waste. You have free access to anything that's a problem. And usually when I get into this, people say, well, I can't think of any waste right now. And I say, well, think of something that pisses you off in the course of a day. And I say, if you've got an idea that pisses you off, it's probably a big waste, and it's more likely going to make somebody mad, so you need the protection of no blame. We talk about simple metrics. Let me give you an example of what we mean by that. We introduced a kind of measurement called the yes-no chart. And it started by looking at the truck leaving on time, yes or no. And the reason this is important, if the truck didn't leave on time, it affected people out on the dock, whether people were staying there at the end of the day, or whether the people got back and had to work overtime. All the people in the chain on the freeways, where they delivered the product at one location and then they traveled on the freeway and they came back. If they could get back before the traffic hit by 3 o'clock, they could leave at 9, be back by 3. And by simply measuring this, we were able to monitor the behavior of the person that was in charge of that. And the red X was a no for 3 days, and then we got the CEO involved, and he fixed the problem and got the person that was there to come in at 6:30 instead of 8:30, and the problem was solved. But it's a simple metric, and it got great results. Big ideas. Big ideas are ideas that aren't just 50 to 1 in the normal war on waste, but over 100 to 1. In other words, an idea that is so phenomenal that it's a slam dunk to implement. Give you an example. Company that I was working with a number of years ago, the CEO asked me why I should hire him, or why he should hire me. And I said, well, and I pulled out my stopwatch, which was my cell phone, and I showed him the time of some workers. And he goes, okay. And then when we went and implemented the solution to that problem, it turned out we increased productivity on the plant floor by about 4 times. So that was a pretty good idea. In summary then, on the war on waste tips that Dr. Elby can give you, is one, the ideas are basically respect all ideas. Very important that we respect ideas. Find a champion for your idea and start at the CEO and work your way down. Invoke no blame. It's critical to the success of all the projects. Use simple measurements, like the yes-no chart that we talked about. And then look for the big idea. And when you look for the big idea, that's a successful wow project.